is our first garden court episode.
It is. I'd be frolicking around in my apron and tucking things in and having a good with my little basket.
If you were to look at the seed packet, you'd be like, oh, well, you can carve this one, so I'm going to buy this one, right?
Am I shaking them to find out which one has the most seeds?
Why are we discounting an entire brand based on one experience that could have been one bad batch, right?
Then why don't you show me sitting on Deerfoot in traffic, beeping my horn, flipping...
Welcome back to the Helpful Gardeners podcast. Well, this week is our first garden court episode.
It is, yeah.
For those of you who have not followed the past few episodes, Garden Court is our new segment where once a month we talk about a different gardening conundrum, something that we hear about in the greenhouse or that we've experienced in our own gardens, and it's all about like the different sides that can come up when it comes to gardening.
Different perspectives.
Different perspectives, and that's exactly what it is. I just want to preface this episode by saying that, yes, Colin and I will be debating different perspectives. However, I don't really think, and I think you'll agree with me, gardening is a personal choice.
Yeah.
There are scientific things to gardening and plants in general, but for the most part, like, it's personal choice.
If you want the science, get into botany. If you want the art, get into horticulture.
Yeah.
That's it. And this is art.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, we can give an opinion and we can debate a point, but it's not going to be a winner or loser stance, because if that was the case, then I would win.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm hoping that a lot of you are going to have some opinions after hearing this episode. I know we've already put a sound off on our Instagram at the Helpful Gardeners Pod. Make sure you go over and follow. Each month we're going to be putting out just a nice little, we'll give us your opinion and then we'll feature you on the podcast. And we had quite a few people reaching out about this week's episode.
And sorry to interrupt you. Also, and we mentioned this as well, and we can't say this enough, maybe there's something you and your friends have been discussing and you want Brandy and I to debate it. Mm-hmm. So throw us that. We'll take anything on. So
yeah, we'll take if you had a weird experience with your neighbor and you want to talk about it, bring it to our attention. We'll talk about it.
Yep.
This week's episode is all about seed brand loyalty. Choosing to be specifically one brand loyal versus the mix and match gardener, right? And I think we're kind of on the same side for this one. However, the challenge is forcing ourselves to see different perspectives and respecting gardeners for that perspective. So this week you are taking brand loyalty.
Brand loyalty, woo! Right?
And this week I'm taking mix and match. So I could just want to start off with a lot of your comments that we had this past week. You remember our friend Jade Icon?
Yep.
They said, I come again for salad greens, forget the brand name. But then they were like, but it's likely salad marketing. Nice.
Yeah.
Holly Morisco.
Holly, yeah.
Holly, hi Holly. Can't find everything I want from one brand. That's true enough.
Yep.
You also decided to weigh in on this. Over on our Instagram at the Helpful Gardeners Pod. Variety is the herbs and spice of life.
Yeah.
Love that. Bonnie's Herbal Adventure mentioned none others have the same germination rates, which I thought was interesting. I'd never really looked at that before. Brianne Wright wrote variety of seed options, so loves to mix and match for the options. And I put out a poll in case you didn't have an opinion you wanted to write about. And 20% of people stay brand loyal and 80% like to mix and match.
Team 20% right here.
But that's the thing. There's a 20%, right? So it's not like every gardener is the same. It's not like you have to mix and match or you have to stay loyal, but there are people out there that like to.
And absolutely, I've had people ask me before. They've picked up, I'm not gonna say any brands here, but they pick up Seed Pack A from brand A, and they go, do you know if Seed Pack B are ever going to do these tomatoes?
Yeah.
And it's like, but you have them in your hand. But they want Seed Brand B. Mm-hmm. There is a reason why certain people go to certain places regardless of the business. And that's what I can lean on and look at that.
Okay, well, let's get into it.
Game on. Game on, Brandy.
Okay, so...
by the way, I'm not going to go easy on you.
Also, I've never debated anyone before. So Let's start. Okay, so my first point for mixing and matching would be probably the most like basic point is the variety of plants. So I went down into our greenhouse and much like some of our followers said on Instagram, you can go into some seed brands and you'll find some pretty interesting varieties. Now, can we name drop?
Of course.
Okay, cool. So we have about 4 or 5 different seed brands in our greenhouse in Alberta. I know seed brands can be variety across the entire country, which is really cool. But one of the more, I would say like experimental or more unique seed brands would be West Coast Seeds out of BC. And I just went down and I was like, look at all these cool things. They've got a purple cauliflower called Graffiti. They've got this like gold beet, touchstone gold. They've got garden huckleberry, which I haven't really seen in other seed brands. And they've also got this really cute cucamelon.
Love cucamelons.
Right? So I think that like in a lot of ways, I mean, they've even got, what was this, like 4 or 5 different types of hot peppers. Whereas some seed brands, you'll go in and you'll see, you know, just like the standard, this is like a hot pepper or a chili pepper or just like the more common ones as opposed to really reaching into those more unique ones.
When you go and you start looking and you see all of the different varieties, most people, right? Go to a restaurant, okay? Let's go to a restaurant for an example. And people go to a restaurant and there are 25 dishes on the menu and they pick the same one every time they go to the same restaurant.
Yeah.
And they do that because it's familiar, it's comforting, they know they're going to enjoy it. And variety is great, absolutely. But you put all of that energy in and then you go, oh, that pepper was way too hot for my tastes. And you've wasted all that time. So staying brand loyal, you know exactly what you're going to get time and time again because they're harvesting the seeds from the plants that you had 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So you're guaranteed the flavor profile that you want. And sure, it's fun to chop and change, but is it really worth it? Are you gonna get what you're looking for? Because that's why you go straight to, and I've got it right in front of me here. You go straight to Mackenzie and you grab these wildflowers. You don't have to read the back. You know what's in it. It's easy. Everything now is so busy and so time consuming. You pick this up, you're like, I know what it's going to look like. I know what it is. Know how to germinate it. Away I go.
Yeah, you've actually got a really good point. I mean, it's like when you go to like a bubble tea place and you see all of these flavors and you get a little bit overwhelmed because you're like, hey, I'm just new to gardening. What do I even try? I think going into a brand like West Coast Seeds where you do see a whole bunch of choice can be a little bit overwhelming, but maybe one year you're like, I'm just going to grow a whole bunch of peppers, or you're like, I'm going to share, you grow that pepper, you grow that pepper, you grow that pepper, and then just like see, and then you can kind of have a diverse selection of peppers for that growing season. I also find you had a point there when you were saying like with Mackenzie Seeds, you know what you're getting into. And this was my second point, was kind of knowing, like, say you're a West Coast Seeds fan and you're like, I'm going to buy all my West Coast Seeds. I love the company, all of that kind of thing. But here's something that Andrea actually told me in the seed department. She said, look at the back though. She said, West Coast Seeds doesn't tell you what's in the wildflowers. So they have a whole bunch of different kinds of wildflower seeds, partial blend, hummingbird mix, pollinator friendly, all of these things, but they don't tell you what's in it. So how do you know you're introducing like what kinds of plants to your ecosystem or to Alberta or whatever? But you go into Mackenzie Seeds and they actually tell you exactly what's in it. So even if like you're not into having everything in that seed packet, you can go and make your own, which is cool. But then you wouldn't be able to do that if you were only using West Coast Seeds, right? You would have to use Mackenzie Seeds to be able to know if that's important to you even, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Speaking of mixes, I also found that in some seed varieties, they'll actually go into, it smells like a marketing thing. See?
Yeah.
I'm starting to see the other side.
Salad
I'm
marketing.
figuring you out. Salad marketing. But But here's a cool thing by Renee's Garden Seeds is they do these like blends. And again, same thing. They don't tell you what's in it. So that can be a little bit if that's not your jam.
Yeah.
However, this one has soup mix blend. They've got Garden Party, which is just 5 colors of radishes all in one. They've got this Everlasting Beauty mix. So if you're looking to do fresh cut flowers, right? They've got a hippie tie-dye, which is awesome. I think it's celosia. They've got a fairy garden mix. So if you're like, I want to build a fairy garden, they've already done the work for you. And then they've also got these organic Prairie Fire container tomato seeds. Not a mix, but I just thought it was cool. But it's almost as if they've taken like this marketing approach. So instead of saying, hey, grow a tomato this year, grow a beet, they've been like, hey, let's get into your brain and figure out like maybe their demographic is people who are like, I want to do a fairy garden. Like, I just want it simple in a blend so I can just sprinkle it around.
See, the thing is, I think, and here it is that, okay, so if you're going out for something, doesn't matter if it's seeds, we'll step away from seeds, because I think this is human nature. And if you're going out, and this is, let's date myself here, well before Google reviews or anything else, best you had was word of mouth. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times you just had to trial and error. Mm-hmm. So you were going out to find, a restaurant or a tool store or a grocery store, whatever it might be. Well, you'd probably go to 4 or 5. Mm-hmm. And you'd be like, this one didn't have everything. I'm going to check out that one, see what they've got. And then you would find your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. And then you would stick with it. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing as that, yeah, that's great. All of these different radishes, all these different colors. What if I don't want that?
Yeah.
What if I don't want that? Again, I go to my brand, which could be Renee's, it could be Mackenzie. I am growing this because I want to make a tomato sauce to get me through the season. I need, 52 bottles of sauce because I have sauce once a week. I need San Marzano tomatoes, and West Coast does the best.
Yeah.
Then I don't care what Mackenzie have. I don't care what Renee's have. I don't care about your mix. That is what I am going for. And that is my brand loyalty. I don't want your gimmick and I don't want your marketing. I know what I'm looking for and I'm refining my taste.
But what if they had a San Marzano and say Renee's Garden Seeds, say that was your goal. Say you were like, maybe you found one that said, killer tomato sauce blend or something to that effect, and it had this like beautiful picture of tomato sauce and you were like, I just want to make tomato sauce, and then you see that, wouldn't it be so easy for you to be like, oh, I'm just going to go that direction? I normally get Mackenzie seeds because it's like, more in my budget, but maybe you saw that and you were like, this is already done for me.
I could see the allure.
Yeah.
But no, I'm going to stay brand loyal.
Yeah.
And here's the thing is that if I'm going to buy my San Marzano and then I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to need basil or oregano because I want to put that in my sauce, then I'm going to get that from my same brand.
Can you companion plant them?
Absolutely. You can put tomato and basil together. I mean, not in the same pot in the garden. They can they can go close to each other.
You can put it in a mix.
Yeah, but don't companion mix basil with anything but basil because it's such a finicky little.
Okay, good point.
Yeah. But if I'm happy with a brand, I'm not interested in the gimmick from the other brand. Like I oftentimes won't look. Mm-hmm. Right.
So you look beyond like the directly in your face marketing, and you look more towards the brand itself.
Yep. I look and go, okay, this brand I trust. Yeah. What do they have? Okay.
Why do you trust them?
Probably because they were there at the beginning when I needed them. So the brand loyalty, it doesn't, for me anyway, brand loyalty.
This viewpoint, yeah.
But brand loyalty doesn't build from not having trial and error. Mm-hmm. It builds from having the trial and error and finding what works best. So it's not like I come in and I'm gonna counter my own point in 1 second. But it's not like I come in and I go, Mackenzie, I like that name. That's my brand, and I never look. Maybe I tried 2 of the others and they didn't quite work. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I didn't really like that tomato. I'm going to try something else next year. And I'm like, oh my God, bumper crop. And might not have been anything to do with the seeds. It could have been great conditions, weather. Maybe I figured out my fertilizer, whatever. But it gives me that confidence. And if I've got that confidence, again, going, well, I know that these are the best seeds, it elevates my game.
Yeah.
But there can also be something to be said about reading the ethos or the morale of a company. A company that you can get behind and a quality product. I'm not interested in the glitz and glamour of everybody else.
I think a lot of Canadians, at least right now, are really worried about buying Canadian-made products.
Support Canadian, yep.
Support Canadian. So that could be a reason why you get behind a brand. Maybe like some of those more like, do they reach out to local farmers? Like, are they embedded in their own community?
Do they have an organic line? Do they have a heritage line, non-GMO?
Yeah.
Do they do community outreach? Do they help with, there are so many, and again, that journey is different for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, what can be a concern to somebody else? Because, I'll look at the other side now. We all want to support Canadian, but what if the brand you've been loyal to for 10 years, always got your San Marzanos, your Romas, whatever it might be, you absolutely love them, and they're a U.S. company.
Yeah. Or owned by a U.S. company, because that's happening too.
Are you swapping?
Yeah.
Are you changing? Are you like, I'm out, I got to find a new brand? Or are you like...
I would also argue that there are a lot of small independent seed growers. I mean, we always talk about the big umbrella of seed growers and that we have them all here on the table, most of them anyway. But as I was doing research, I was noticing there's a lot of independent growers that are just starting up, and it can be really hard to sort of beat some of these bigger brands that have a larger reach, already have a loyal following. I would almost argue that if that's important to you, because as much as it's important to support Canadian brands for a lot of people, it's also important for a lot of people to support the local as well. I mean, in Alberta alone, and I mean, this is kind of gray area, but seed potatoes, we have a local grower here in Alberta that grows seed potatoes, and the amount of variety you can get in seed potatoes. I mean, yes, you can get potatoes in Mackenzie seeds. You can get potatoes, there's like a bunch of different kinds of brands. But like if you were growing potatoes, for example, and you are like loyal to Mackenzie seeds, you would get your potatoes from Mackenzie seeds, but then you'd be missing out on this great local grower who could really use your business, or you could benefit so much from because they have disease-resistant potatoes, more potatoes that are like grown for your specific climate. So there's a reason to be mixing and matching seed brands.
Seed swaps.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about seed swaps.
So go into seed swaps. No brand whatsoever.
No.
You got seeds, I got seeds. Let's okay. So I do support that initiative, but at the same time, I want to help somebody out, absolutely, but do I want to do that at the expense of my own success?
That's very true, and especially if you're on a budget, you only have a certain amount of money. Are you willing to risk it? For one season? I mean, you're risking anything as a gardener, like in any season.
100%.
There's all these factors from weather to the type of seed. If you got a bad batch, if the seeds weren't stored correctly, like all that kind of. And that's the other thing. If I can just air this out, regardless of stance, when we do hear gardeners say, I'm never choosing this brand again because I got seeds and they never grew. Why are we discounting an entire brand based on one experience that could have been one bad batch, right?
Fair point. And to put it out there, I have grown a lot of seeds from a lot of brands. I have had seeds grow and not grow from every brand. And I'm pretty good at growing plants. Like I'm confident. I go in with confidence. Sometimes they don't grow, whatever the reason. And it might be something to do with me. Maybe I did something overwatered, underwatered, too hot, too cold, whatever the case might be. Maybe it was a bad batch. Don't know. Not really going to hold that against anybody. Okay. I'm just not. But again, I can understand that. Okay. Hot peppers can be notoriously hard to grow. So maybe you tried hot peppers because you like them. They didn't grow and you chalked the brand off. Maybe you tried peppers from another brand and they did grow and you're like, these ones are better. I get it. I get it because it might not be the brand's fault, but maybe in your brain, if it is, you can't tolerate that frustration, and you're like, it's meant to be fun. It's not meant to be anxiety inducing. So go back to the confidence. If I go, and I'm just going to pick them up to show that I'm not actually brand loyal. I'm like, oh, Renee's Garden has always killed it for me. Yeah. Always. I've always enjoyed their seeds. They always grow well. I'm going to do Fairy Garden Mix.
Yeah.
And I leave with this, and I'm happy as a clam because, again, now I'm leaving with confidence.
Yeah.
Because I'm confident in the brand.
Yes.
So I find you gotta go in with confidence, and that's what brand loyalty can give you.
I think you brought up a really good point about customer service. One of the cool things that West Coast Seeds does for us a lot of the time, and I know a lot of this kind of depends on like, you know, your rep or the kind of conditions, like if you're in a smaller town or whatever the case may be. But I know West Coast Seeds is really good about ordering in seeds for people at your local garden center. So you're supporting your local garden center, but you're also still supporting West Coast Seeds. Whereas a lot of the other seeds, they won't really do that. Like, you know, order them in throughout the season. So that's something that I would say for brand loyalty. I'm like jumping sides, but like I would say like if you're interested in customer service, as that's your, I mean, if somebody went above and beyond to get you a certain type of seed that you've been really wanting to try in your garden, I mean, that would be a boost into that direction, wouldn't
it? I can become very brand loyal. Based on customer service. I've done that. There's a brand out there that I shop at regularly, especially Gifts for Jenny, because of the quality and the confidence of the customer service.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. Jenny likes it, but now it's actually become one of those places where birthday, Valentine's, Christmas, I always go and browse there first.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, that they get your priority.
Yep.
And if you have everything they need, what makes them go anywhere else, right?
And you know, fair's fair. I will bring up the other point. I don't insist on buying from there because I go in and sometimes I'm like, Jenny doesn't need another bag, or that's not her style. So then I do have to go elsewhere.
But you get first kick of the can as a brand, and that's important.
Because of my loyalty.
Yeah.
So that's it. When somebody has treated me right and somebody has done something right, like West Coast, I'm in.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. Here's the other thing about my brand loyalty. Doesn't mean I'm in with everything. I don't like celery, so I don't care if I'm a West Coast baby. They can do anything they want with celery. It ain't going in my garden.
Yeah.
Okay? So just because I'm brand loyal doesn't mean that it's everything all the time. But it means that when I buy my tomatoes, my herbs, my peppers, my sunflowers, that's the one I'm going to.
Yeah, good point. I would also love to bring up the fact that some seed brands, kind of going back to variety a little bit, but when we were talking about being overwhelmed by choice, some seed brands I find, yes, Renee's Garden seeds can be, you know, you have the mixes and things get a little bit more specialized. West Coast Seeds, the same kind of thing. But we have this brand called Mr. Fothergill's, which just sounds so cute. I don't know. I just love the little, I'm going to pop up a picture on the video. Look at this this man.
Yeah. Is
that Mr. Fothergill? Like, I love that.
It sounds so British.
It's so cute.
Mr.
Anyway.
Fothergill.
But what I love about shopping this one is that, say you're the kind of gardener that's like, I just need zucchini. Like, I don't know the difference between the different types of zucchini. I just want to grow zucchini, and I'm not doing container gardening. I'm just in my garden bed. Like, just, can you like not dumb it down, but can you just simplify life for me a little bit? And that's what's really neat about this is like, they've got like the big picture of what it is. They just say pepper, tomato. You can see which one it is. You can see what you like. Squash, you know, cauliflower. They go into flowers, nasturtium. Like, it's really simple. So say you're the kind of gardener where you're like, I need my essentials. It's like going to the grocery store every week and being like, I know I need bread, spinach, milk there. I know I'm also going to see that, oh, wow, there's some ice cream over there. I'm going to get that. That wasn't intentional, but so that would almost be like, if you're going to be mixing and matching, I think having the seed department going into your local garden center, sure, you go in and you see Mr. Fothergill's and you get all of your essentials, but then you also have the opportunity, because it's all there already, to then go in and be like, hey, I see ornamental grass. Let's try it, right?
Yep.
So there's also like some value in that is like the exposure when you're at a local garden center or at wherever you buy your seeds and you see the essentials, but you also get exposure to this cool stuff.
Are you brand loyal to ice cream or are you loyal to flavor?
Oh, I'm loyal to price.
There you go.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
I don't even care if it says frozen dessert on it.
That's the best. Yeah.
I'll just go and do it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'll eat made my markets. I feel like I'm just mix and matching everything because I have serious FOMO.
That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Maybe that's another point in my direction.
Yeah.
What if you have FOMO and you're like, I don't want to. I have one crack at gardening this year.
I have to try this.
Try everything.
But you can swap a brand, but I don't know that I would swap a brand for every brand under the sun. Mm-hmm. So say, I've been buying American, okay? And that's been great. And now I'm like, I got to support Canada. Okay, that's my goal. Well, I will, but I will find another new brand in Canada to support. I'm not just going to shop 19 different Canadian brands to get it. I'm going to find the like for like.
And what are you going to do? You're probably going to Google it.
Yep.
And there's another thing we haven't touched on is, sure, you can go and buy your seeds at the grocery store or at your local garden center. But there is also a huge market of going to the brand directly on website, and you can buy seeds directly from there. You can go to West Coast Seeds and buy seeds online. Same with, Mackenzie Seeds and all of that. And there's even like all these sorts of like regional ones where you can go on their website, you can buy seeds directly from them and they'll ship it to you. Mm-hmm. So it's like there's another, I feel like that would be, if you were brand loyal, that's probably the easiest way because you're not going to get distracted by the other flashiness of the other brands if you were to go to a garden center.
And so here's another thing. How busy are you these days?
Yeah, I think you know.
Exactly. So I could think of something worse, many things worse than spending 8 hours wandering around a seed department online or preferably in person.
Yeah.
And picking them up and reading the back and thinking about it and planning and charting and having a great time and throwing them in a basket. That would be great. I do not have the luxury of that time.
No, we all want to.
Exactly.
This is like one of my favorite activities in the springtime, but you're right.
So now I come in, and here's the other thing about being brand loyal. I look at West Coast and I go, I know their herbs are purple. I know their vegetables are green. I know their flowers are orange.
Good point. Yeah.
So I come in, I go vegetables, alphabetical, tomatoes, beefsteak, bam, done.
Yeah.
Quick, easy, in. And then I move on and I shop my West Coast. I know exactly what I'm looking for. I identify it easy. It's in my basket and I'm out the door.
Yeah.
And I'm happy. Now I can spend that time on my seeds. Idyllic. I'd be frolicking around in my apron and tucking things in and having a good with my little basket and having a jolly good time with Mr. Fothergill and holding hands and skipping down the aisles. I don't have that. So familiarity, again, it's that confidence, it's that ability to come in. Our brain can turn off. I'm not swamped in choice because now I go and I want a pack of nasturtiums and I'm like, I have 5 brands. They all have nasturtiums. They all look amazing. And then you're crippled by choice where I know that I'm a West Coast shopper. I go and nasturtiums. It's got and I made up the colors, by the way. Anybody out there from West Coast, I don't actually know what the color banners are.
I think you did pretty good. We got green for vegetables.
Okay.
It's orange for whatever this is. This is annual. I don't know. I don't know why it's orange, but they are color coded.
They are color coded.
Yep.
That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that ease of transaction. I'm looking for me to be able to get in and get out, but also be satisfied with my choice. I don't want to be crippled by, coming in and being like, oh my God, now I've got 4 packs of nasturtium. Then am I going to price? Am I shaking them to find out which one has the most seeds?
I've seen that, yeah.
I think we've all seen people.
I've also held it up to the light.
Have you? Okay, yeah.
I'm like, maybe I can see. You can kind of see a little bit.
Oh, yeah. No, I can see shading. I can see. But I've absolutely seen people feeling it.
Yeah.
And then my favorite, totally off piste here, where somebody comes up and they're like, How many seeds were in that?
I don't know.
50 to 100?
It's not in the handbook.
Yep.
You know, one of the things I noticed a lot in the seed department is different brands in different brands. So, like, you know, like when you go and get a greeting card and you don't know where the greeting card goes and you just put it somewhere.
Yeah.
So I talked to Andrea and I'm like, what do you see in the seed department? She's like, I spend like half an hour every morning putting seeds back, because that's the thing. You see people sort of gravitate between the different seed brands just to kind of see. Maybe they have FOMO too. Maybe they're like, maybe I'm missing something. And then you'll see like a cornucopia seed over in the Mackenzie seeds, and you start. She says it's almost like a game, because she's like trying to figure out what went through their mind.
Yeah.
And she's like, why did they choose this one as opposed to this one?
Especially when it's not a straight swap like sunflower for sunflower. It's like parsnip for marigold.
Like,
how did you get there?
You're like, did you just decide not to do parsnip anymore? Because we were like, wow, they sell marigold. You can grow that from seed. And that's another thing too. There's a lot of flowers out there where I didn't know you could start them from seed.
Yep.
And so you see them in a certain seed brand and you're like, oh, I usually buy this as a flower. And then you get inspired in the store and you're thinking, well, now I want to change everything. Now I want to get this one. One of the things that I really like that seeds are doing right now is like, if you were to do, say, Mackenzie seeds, and you were like, okay, like they have lettuce and they have radish and they have like very specific types, right? Mm-hmm. But then you go into West Coast seeds and you see things called City Garden Blend. And it's great for like a container garden.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I didn't know you could grow this in a container. That's perfect for me, because I don't have any more space in my garden. So I'm doing raised garden beds. Like I would love a variety that you say can't grow in the ground. Like you say you're running out of space and you're like, I need a specific type of seed, and you can't get that in Mackenzie seeds. And you would go and look at West Coast seeds, and it's very catered to like your specific needs.
And that's valid. That's a tough one. I'm willing to bet most of the seeds in there you probably could find in the brand that you're loyal to.
Yeah.
But are you going to try and figure that out? Are you going to buy them? Then, and you touched on this earlier about the budget. Now I got to buy 3 or 4 packs of seeds to do one blend. Well, I can keep those seeds, but we've talked about this before. I've seen Harry do it where he's picked up my seeds and he's picked them up like that. And I'm like, well, they're gone.
Yeah.
And he's on the floor trying to pick them up. And I'm like, sweep them up. I'll get another pack, buddy.
Yeah.
You can't just turn it into seed tape?
Yeah. Like, I don't understand why it didn't go through the Scotch tape. but that is tough.
You know, can we talk about price for a second?
Yeah.
Because that's a very valid point. It's like, if you are on a tight budget, and I'm not like putting one or, any of the others, it is what it is. Like, let's just go through this. I found Sugar Baby. I just love the name. And I found out that Sugar Baby watermelons are found in multiple seed brands. Not Mr. Fothergill's. I didn't see it in Mr. Fothergill's, but I did see it in West Coast Seeds, Mackenzie Seeds, and Cornucopia, which I believe is a subsidiary of Renee's Garden Seeds. That's what Andrea told me.
Okay.
So the Mackenzie one is $2.50. The Cornucopia is $3.19. And the West Coast Seeds is $3.49. It's all the same variety of watermelon, but they're all a different price. And if you're on a tight budget, maybe Mackenzie Seeds is going to be all that you want to do, and you want to just, and you're like, oh, it's like going to like a grocery store that's more budget friendly, right? You're gonna go there because you're gonna save the most money,
100%.
right? So maybe you're going to Mackenzie Seeds and you're like, well, I know that this one is cheaper than all the other ones, so therefore all of the seeds must be cheaper than the other brands.
Yep.
Right? So maybe that's a reason to stay there. However, I wonder if there's any kind of psychology there. If you like see like a seed that's like $3.49 and you're like, well, it's more expensive, so therefore it must grow better.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's possible. And I mean, pricing can be any number of things, access to how many seeds they have,
right?
Where they're getting their seeds, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. But, that is one where, maybe you can't be brand loyal. Mm-hmm. I'm meant to be arguing loyalty here, but the flip side of that one spinach from all the brands, one watermelon from all the brands, one cucumber